While economic sanctions against Russia are starting to have an impact. The Russian ruble has plunged to a record low, dropping more than 30% against the US dollar. Russians are scrambling to withdraw money from banks, with long queues forming at cash machines across the country. In an attempt to prop up the ruble, Russia's central bank doubled its key interest rate to an unprecedented 20% and ordered domestic export companies to sell foreign reserves. Sanctions imposed by the US and Europe have also largely cut off the country from the global financial system.
European stock markets fell steeply as the financial sector reacted to the latest sanctions. Among those, major Russian banks would be kicked out of the global financial transaction network SWIFT at a cost not only to Russia but also to its trading partners. Over the weekend, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz made it clear that things could get even worse. So far, sanctions against Russia include the exclusion from SWIFT, making it impossible for sanctioned Russian banks to pay for and receive goods from abroad. There are also restrictions on major banks with immediate consequences. The European subsidiary of Russia's state-owned Sberbank is facing bankruptcy. Last week's initial sanctions also included asset freezes and travel bans for individuals, as well as the blocking of Russia's access to semiconductors, computers and other high-tech products. Experts consider the sanctions against Russia harsh and expect them to possibly cripple the Russian economy for years to come.
Joining me now in the studio is DW correspondent Clifford Kuhn. Clifford, let's talk about the implication these sanctions are having. The ruble is plummeting, first of all. What does that mean for the Russian economy?
Well, it's a disaster in many ways. The pictures we've just seen of these queues outside banks tell us so much. If you imagine that you're a Russian saver, an ordinary Russian who's got all their savings in rubles, they're worth 30% less today than they were yesterday. It's 119 rubles to the dollar now. So in that case, it's a very, very serious problem. And, often when we're talking about, the political and the economic where they overlap, I think it's always with sort of things like currency values that you really see the political impact, the possible political impact of this, because it's so strong. Prices will rise because it will force inflation, because a lot of the economy relies on imports, which will now cost more because the ruble is worth less. So in these areas, you can sort of see that it's going to have massive impact.